Welcome to the Higher Power Podcast, presented by Higher Power Sports PT, the show dedicated to helping active individuals like you unlock your full potential through expert insights on injury prevention, performance enhancement, and recovery. Kurt Kessler is a board-certified specialist in sports physical therapy and an athletic trainer. In each episode, he and his guests bring you the latest evidence-based strategies to help you move better, feel stronger, and stay injury-free. Let's learn together.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Higher Powered Podcast. Today, we are going to look at a bunch of different tools that have top-level marketing because they make consumers believe that their product is the only thing that they will ever need to feel better from their aches and pains. They will either market for the purpose of pain relief, performance, or recovery, but I'm going to take some very common or very popular pain relief modalities or gadgets and tell you what they do, what to use them for, and what they are actually designed to do so that you can understand the actual effect of them and decide if it would be a solution to whatever physical problem that you're having. When I first came up with the idea for this podcast, I was originally going to have some of these products laid out here to show you, but we actually move from this house in a few weeks and things are getting packed up, so I don't have all the toys with me. But first, I'm going to start with the massage gun. So what people are led to believe is that it fixes tight muscles and prevents injury. In reality, massage guns provide short-term relief by increasing blood flow and reducing perceived tension by manipulating the nervous system. They don't resolve chronic issues like bad movement patterns or muscle weakness or other root causes of pain. How I use this or how I would use this would be either pre-treatment as a physical therapist to allow the nervous system around the problem area to calm down so that we can work through a greater range of motion with less pain, or just as a feel-good method for short-term relief or enjoyment, recognizing that it offers nothing for long-term solutions. Where people often make the mistake is believing that this tool is going to be the thing to keep their muscles relaxed for long periods of time or to get rid of that knot in your neck or shoulder, when instead the long-term solution is figuring out what is causing the chronic tightness or the knot in your neck or shoulder and addressing the movement side of it. The next one I'll bring up, the Theracane. So if you don't know what this is, it almost looks like a shepherd's hook. You see them hanging in just about every outpatient physical therapy clinic. And their design is they have little balls in different spots, and you hold it and use it to put pressure on various points of your muscle. So what people are led to believe is, oh, I'm digging out deep knots and fixing the problem at the source. When in reality, you're applying deep pressure that temporarily inhibits pain signals and may increase circulation, but it doesn't solve muscle imbalances, it doesn't solve nerve entrapment, it doesn't solve postural issues. It is best used as a targeted relief tool, not as a substitute for strength, mobility, or therapy itself. How I use these? Well, I use them to apply pressure for a self pin and stretch technique. So basically you would hold pressure on a certain muscle and then allow yourself to stretch through it. Or, again, as a feel-good method for short-term relief or enjoyment, recognizing that it offers nothing for long-term solutions. You might start to sense a theme developing here. The next one, foam roller. What people are led to believe, it breaks up fascia and speeds up my recovery. In reality, what it does is it changes how your nervous system interprets tension. It doesn't actually change the tissue itself. So rolling feels good, and it helps with temporary increase in range of motion. It can help with some soreness reduction, but it does not address chronic dysfunction or injury. You want to use this pre-training to help you feel looser. Don't expect long-term change without consistent strength or mobility work. How I use this. Now, I actually love foam rollers as a rehab and exercise tool because there are so many uses for them. So I don't want people to think I'm just crapping on foam rollers. For pain relief, what I would do is I would use it for about 90 seconds to 2 minutes because that is what research has shown to be the maximum effective timeline. And anything beyond that is either not really going to yield any more benefit or in some cases it could potentially increase your soreness. But it's a really great tool for that quick change of the nervous system. The great thing about foam rollers is that you can use them to assist movement, whether that is creating a less stable but elevated platform for bridges, or using it to press your knee down for an exercise like open books. There are truly a number of things that you can use this for in exercise, but it doesn't do quite as much as people think it does when they use it. Next, we'll talk about scraping, which is either Graston tools or hawk grips or something similar. It almost looks like a blunted knife. So what people believe when it's used is that it breaks up scar tissue and it heals muscle adhesions or knots. In reality, there's no scientific proof that you can break up scar tissue this way. But what it really does is stimulate local blood flow. It creates a strong sensory response, and it may reduce pain through nervous system modulation. It works as part of a full rehab approach, but it won't repair soft tissue damage or fix biomechanics as a standalone treatment. How I use it, again, I really, really love scraping, or instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization if you want the fancy term. I incorporate this heavily in my practice, but not because I expect it to cure everyone's pain problems. I use it similarly as I use the other ones we've talked about. Create a local blood flow response, which can help relax an unhappy muscle for the short term. It dampens down the nervous system in that part of the body so that we can move a little bit more freely in the short term. This is important because if you're working with someone with a limitation in their soft tissue, it's really good at creating that short-term increase in range of motion so that you can now move through that range of motion and establish that connection from your brain to the muscle that, oh, okay, I can use this motion now. Not as just like I'm going to scrape my skin and then expect, oh, okay, everything's fixed. The next one is cupping. This one, I think everybody knows what cupping is, but in case you don't, if you ever watch the Olympics, especially the swimming events, you'll see the swimmers with these big marks on around their shoulder blades or on their pecs. And what people believe is that, oh, it sucks out the toxins and it fixes inflammation. In reality, those dark circles are bruises, not toxins being released. Cupping may increase blood flow. It may create a placebo pain relief effect, but it has no proven structural benefit or detox effect. It might help with temporary relief, but it's not a real solution for injuries or movement dysfunction. How I use it, this one is a tough one because it's fairly controversial. It is a practice that has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, and the way it is used in Eastern medicine might be a little bit different than the way we use it in Western medicine. There's been a lot of research done on cupping, and there just really isn't a lot of evidence that it does a whole lot. But just like anything else we've talked about so far, it creates a different sensory input. You feel the pressure of your skin in the cup, and that can alter the sensory input into your brain and make some movements a little bit more comfortable. This is just me, but I think the bruises that cupping makes look pretty awesome. So that's a benefit too, just looking cooler. And when you're like me at the bottom of the cool ladder, like having these cupping marks help bump me up a rung or two. But that's about it. All right, big one here, compression boots. These big, expensive Normatec compression boots. What people are led to believe is that it removes lactic acid and it heals your muscles. In reality, these tools may aid in circulation and reduce soreness temporarily, but they don't rebuild tissue, they don't fix injuries. Long-term recovery still requires sleep, nutrition, and proper training. I'm going to quote Sarah Neal from episode 4 of this podcast. She said, quote, "So for those that maybe aren't in our setting, the flashier things that you might see on social media, on the internet, or seeing what these pros are doing are things like the recovery boots, massages, cupping. BFR is a big one, which I'm actually a huge fan of. But arguably, if you're not hitting the big rocks of recovery, which are sleep, nutrition, stress management, which I can't harp on enough, hydration. If you're not hitting those, the rest of them don't even matter, you know? You could do every modality under the sun and it'll maybe help you 3%. But if you look at the other 97, it's those big rocks that I just mentioned. So no matter what, before I will even talk to an athlete, a young athlete, about recovery tools and modalities, I am really focusing on those bigger aspects. Sleeping, a huge one, especially for the student athlete, and stress for student athletes for sure, unquote. How I use them, well, I never have, but it's because they're expensive and I haven't had a need for them. I do believe they're probably useful, but I think they are overvalued in the minds of consumers. If you just hit the simple foundations of recovery, you may not even need them, or it may make your recovery a little bit more effective. But I just go back to what Sarah said. She has worked in pro sports for a little while now and has worked with the highest level of athlete. And she's telling us that if you don't hit them, all these fancy, expensive modalities might not even matter. 97% you can do just the simple things, and those big, extra expensive things will take you the extra 3%. All right, next one, KT tape or kinesio tape. What people believe is that it supports injured muscles and joints. In reality, KT tape does not offer mechanical support, but it may increase your body awareness or your proprioception. It can slightly help with swelling or bruising, but it can't realign joints or stabilize injuries in the way that a brace or even some other taping techniques would. It's useful in certain rehab scenarios, but it will not protect or heal injured tissues alone. How I use this. This is a huge one in terms of how people use it. Anytime I work a club tournament or a college showcase, basically anything with club or AAU teams that don't have an athletic trainer working with them regularly, the number of kids that come up to me and ask if I can tape them with K-tape is astounding. It's marketed as this tape that will help with pain relief and help with injuries. And the consumer puts it on and they think it changes their injury. Not to mention, just like cupping, it looks really stinking cool. I have found it useful for two purposes. It does have or seem to have some proprioceptive benefit. What I mean by that is when the tape is applied to your skin senses that, and therefore it can just produce some slight changes in the nervous system. And in some cases, it's helpful just to have that proprioception or that awareness of where that taped body part is in space. It might create more of a sense of stability, but it is really just manipulating the nervous system to feel like it is more secure because of the sensory input from the tape on the skin. It has also been shown to be helpful with lymphatic drainage, which you would see in cases with severe swelling. All right, TENS units or electrical stimulation, or as we call it, e-stim or stim. It's not STEM. I've had people tell me that they thought it was doing something with their stem cells to help them recover because they thought it was STEM. And what people are led to believe is that it heals injuries through electrical pulses. But in reality, TENS just helps mask pain signals, not actually heal the cause of the pain. It is a symptom manager, not a solution. The science behind it is that it manipulates pain using the gate control theory, which I will not nerd you with. But basically, you put the pads on the painful area and it produces a little tingly sensation on the skin. And the extra stimulation of the nerve helps dampen the pain signal to the brain. Another way that this plays out without the machine, if you are walking through your house and you bump your knee on the table and you rub your knee for a couple seconds, it's the same exact thing. Rubbing your knee creates that additional sensory input to the brain and therefore dampens the pain signal that it's receiving. How I use it, I don't use it much anymore, but I did at one point. I currently would use it mostly to help with chronic pain conditions. It is safe to use. I would use it for maybe somebody after surgery for some short-term relief. But if I'm going to use it with someone, it would probably be more of that chronic pain population. The next one, infrared or light therapy, what people are led to believe. It stimulates healing and makes injuries go away faster. In reality, there's some evidence that suggests that may support healing marginally, but they are not standalone treatments. They need to be combined with real rehab and strength work. So here are a couple different things. This is all by the research. The use of infrared or light therapy. The strongest evidence is to help oral mucositis in cancer. That is the strongest evidence that it has for being a positive intervention. There's moderate level evidence for use for chronic joint and muscle pain, but the benefits are likely short term. There's moderate evidence for wound healing, such as ulcers, which you would see maybe more with like diabetic wounds. There's mixed evidence with muscle recovery, just inconsistent results. There's mild to moderate evidence for cosmetic and dermatologic use, just mild improvements, if anything. And then there's weak to moderate evidence level for the use for hair loss. It's just more hype than proof. And then the last one today is topical pain relievers. So this is talking about BioFreeze, Tiger Balm, Icy Hot, things of that nature. What people are led to believe is that if the pain goes away, then the problem is gone. In reality, these topical solutions just mask the pain signals for a little while. The injury or the tissue that is injured often remains untouched. They utilize chemicals like menthol to create a sensation of temperature change on the skin. Again, goes back to manipulating the sensory input to the brain to produce sensations other than pain. Nothing actually sinks into the skin or into the joint and provides pain relief. That's why it's called topical. How do I use it? I don't. Other people like to use it and will ask if they should use it. And my response to them is, if you use it and you feel like it helps you, then you can continue using it. If somebody asks me for a deeper explanation, then I'll go into it. The big take-home message I want to convey here is that most of these tools are great for short-term relief, but none of them fix the root cause of chronic pain or overuse injuries, which often require movement correction, strength training, and recovery based on the 4 pillars of recovery that we already talked about. I can't stress this enough. This is the blueprint to making a long-term change. The problem is that everybody and their mother are looking for a quick fix and expecting it to come in one of these forms. Don't get me wrong, there can be quick changes, but the fix is often a long-term commitment to making adaptation, which does not happen overnight in the human body. There are probably people who will listen to this podcast and not like my stance, not because what I'm saying is factually incorrect, but because the way that I've framed my argument might disprove some beliefs that these things are helpful for people. I am in no way telling people to use or not use these products. Instead, I wanted to dive into what people are led to believe through marketing or word of mouth, which is largely based on people's beliefs around the product. I wanted to highlight the fact that each of these things produce a specific effect so that anybody who uses them has realistic expectations about what they are supposed to do and how they should be used. In reality, each of these things are just separate tools. If you think about building a house, you might use one tool for this job or another tool for that job or a piece of equipment to do this task. And by using the right tools for the right jobs, you end up with a finished product of a new home. But what is happening is that these companies are selling their products, albeit very effectively, and marketing that this specific tool is the one tool that you don't have and will complete your house, or be the only tool that you will need to build the house. The most sturdy house you can build will be built with a rock-solid blueprint and using the right tools for the job. So if your body is the house that you're trying to build or renovate or fix the leak or whatever, you need to come up with the blueprint on how to do that and ensure that you have the tools necessary. I fully understand that it can be really difficult to try to work through injuries on your own or know what exercises to do or how often to do them, or try to figure out why the exercises you are doing aren't making the difference. There are even people that will go to physical therapy and get mostly better, but not all the way where they want to go. And the message here is just, if you have specific goals, especially speaking for athletes and active individuals, if you have specific goals that you want to meet, just know that there are people out here like myself who specialize in finding a way to make that happen for you. Here is my challenge to everybody listening today. Look at these products that you are consistently using for pain relief and ask yourself, what is your expectation for each of them? Again, they are not bad to use, but the perception of what they do should match the reality. Otherwise, you'll continue chasing short-term solutions for long-term problems. If there are any devices that I missed today that you want more information on, please let me know and I can make a follow-up episode covering some other devices. Thank you all for listening today. You can find ways to connect in the show notes or find me on Instagram at Higher Power Sports PT, and we'll see you next time.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Higher Powered Podcast, presented by Higher Powered Sports PT. We hope you gained valuable insights on how to stay strong, move better, and prevent injury, all backed by expert knowledge in sports physical therapy and athletic training. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Your support helps us bring more evidence-based tips and strategies to active individuals just like you. For more resources or to connect with us, head over to hpsportspt.com. That's hpsportspt.com. Remember, you've got the power to perform at your best. Keep training smarter, recovering faster, and living stronger. Just a reminder that the content shared in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be considered medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your health or treatment plan. Thanks for tuning in. We hope to see you next time on the Higher Powered Podcast.